Let me tell a story that has all shades of life. There's joy and grief and laughter, bonhomie and strife. Every story teaches a nice little lesson. Along with the wisdom, you will also have fun. Let me tell a story that has all shades of life. There's joy and grief and laughter, bonhomie and strife. Every story teaches a nice little lesson. Along with the wisdom, you will also have fun. Hi everyone! Are we ready for another magical story? So, we have been talking about a lot of different magical creatures in the past 3 days, isn't it? The very first story was about a phoenix. The second story was about an enchanted horse. And yesterday's story, the third one, was about an asura, a magician, an asura who was a master magician. Today, I have another equally magical story, equally interesting story for all of you. And you know whom you are all going to meet today? Let me give you a clue. What is that one magical creature which looks like a horse and has a single twisted horn right on its forehead? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, today we are going to meet a unicorn. So are you ready? A long time ago, once upon a time, a very long time ago, there lived three brothers. Their names were Fritz, Franz, and Hans. So Fritz, Franz, and Hans lived in a small village along with their mother. Now these three brothers, they were coal burners. So they used to collect charcoal, and they used to provide it to the different factories, everything that was there around the village. But they did not have a lot of money. In fact, they were quite poor, and they scarcely managed to have barely even one meal a day. Although a long time ago they had wealth, but somehow over the years all their wealth had gotten lost, and now they lived in poverty. While they were poor, the two of the brothers, that is Fritz and Franz, were still very arrogant and selfish, and they were very unpleasant to be with. But the third one, the youngest of all, who was Hans, he was a very pleasant man, very kind man, and he had a very pleasing nature. One night, Franz, Fritz, and Hans, along with their mother, were sitting around the dinner table and having their meager dinner of a few pieces of bread. Just as they were about to start eating, there was a knock at the door. Who could it be at this hour? Wondered Fritz. Hans got up, and he went and opened the door. And there stood a huntsman. A huntsman is another name for a hunter. So there stood a huntsman requesting if he could come in. And Hans let him in. It was quite cold outside and it was snowing, so the huntsman came in. And the huntsman asked, could you please be able to give me something to eat and a little place to stay so that I can rest and I can be on my way? As soon as he said that, Franz and Fritz started throwing glances at him and started gobbling up their bread, their slices of bread. You know, whether you can understand whether they were how happy or not they were about sharing, isn't it? But the kind Hans, he told, "Of course, sir, please come. Please sit down." He made place for the huntsman and he got him to sit, and he went and took some water which they had, fetched from the cool spring nearby, and he offered some water to the huntsman, and he offered the piece of bread that was on his plate. He offered it to the huntsman. And the huntsman must have been really hungry, because as soon as the plate was kept in front of him, he started gobbling up. And he gobbled so fast and so messy that some of the crumbs were falling all around him. And as he was gobbling with one hand, he went about collecting those crumbs and making them all into a small round pellet. And children, I don't know if anyone has seen or tried it any time, but when you make such pellets, along with the dirt and everything, they become very black. So there, the huntsman had at the end of his food, he had a small black pellet of breadcrumbs, and he held it in his hands, and he drank his water, and then he said, "Okay, I guess I'll be on my way. I don't want to impose further upon you. You've already been so kind and you've given me food, so I'll take leave of you all now." Franz and Fritz were very happy to see him go. So they said, "Okay, fine, bye-bye." As the huntsman stood up, he told, "You know what? You boys should check out the spring of magical water, the spring of golden magical water." "Spring of golden magical water? What is that?" asked Fritz. "It is a magical spring, and it will turn anything to gold, anything that it touches to gold." Now, Franz and Fritz's ears stood up. "Really? Oh, sir, pray tell me where it is." The huntsman said, "Oh, it is just beyond those blue mountains and right after the forest of dead trees." Okay. The scheming minds of Fritz and Franz were already fast working and planning. So they said, "Okay, sure, we will check it out." The huntsman said, "Yes, sure. Okay then, let's see you. Bye-bye." And he was on his way. So as he went near the door, he went and offered to open the door. And as Hans opened the door, the huntsman signaled him. He signaled Hans to come out along with him. So Hans followed the huntsman outside. When they were outside, the huntsman gave that black pellet to Hans, and he said, "My dear fellow, when you find the spring of golden magical water, and I'm sure that you'll be the one to find it, so when you do, make sure to use this." Uh, this Hans did not understand what it all meant, but he was being polite, so he said, "Okay, fine, thank you," and he put it in his pocket. And the huntsman was on his way. When Hans returned inside, what did he see but his two brothers squabbling about who should go and find the spring of golden magical water. Fritz said, "I am the one who should go. I am the eldest, of course." Franz said, "Yes, you're the eldest. That is exactly why you must remain here and take care of the family affairs. I will go." Fritz said, "No, no, no. I am the one who should go and bring gold for the family. I will go." "No, no, no. 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 I will go." This went on and on and on, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, as the exasperated mother and Hans looked on. Thankfully, after a lot of squabbling, Fritz and Franz finally agreed that because Fritz was the eldest, he should be the one to go and find out the magical spring. So the very next day, Fritz set off. He got onto a horse and he went riding. Now, riding beyond the Blue Mountain was really a long ride, and Fritz did not have enough food to pack for the entire journey. So every time he got hungry or he needed a place to stay, he would knock doors and beg and request for food and shelter. And in this way, slowly, he proceeded on the journey, and finally, he reached the forest of dead trees. As he entered the forest, there came a loud whinny. And there came a strange creature, beautiful white horse-like creature with a beautiful silky white mane and this horn. And this creature came whinnying at it came and it stood there and it asked Fritz, "What do you seek here?" The creature said, "What do you seek here?" So Fritz said, "I seek the spring of golden magical water." "And what will you do with the spring of golden magical water?" Fritz said, "Ha ha ha. If I am able to get my hands on that golden magical water, I will make a lot of gold, and then I will sell all that gold and I'll make a lot of money, and with all that money I'll buy a lot of land, and then I will become a count." "Is it so?" said the unicorn, and it slowly approached him, and with one push it lifted off Fritz from his horse and it threw Fritz so far away. It threw Fritz so far away that he was hoisted up in the air and he went flying and then landed inside a hollow trunk of one of those dead trees. Ha! So much for you and your countmanship and your countship, muttered the unicorn, and it trotted away. Now, 6 weeks passed, 2 months passed, 3 months passed, and Franz and Hans and his mother did not receive any news about Fritz. Mother and Hans were very worried. "I hope Fritz is safe, wondered Hans. While Franz was telling, of course he would be safe. I'm sure he's run off with all the money. I'm sure he's taken all the gold for himself and run off somewhere. The selfish brute. And after 3 months, Franz could wait no more. So he said, I'm going to go look for Fritz, and I'm going to go find that the spring of golden magical water myself. And he set off again on another horseback. And he too begged for food and shelter along the way, and reached beyond the blue mountains and reached the forest of dead trees. And as he entered the forest of dead trees, the unicorn came there and accosted him. Who are you and what do you want? Franz said, I'm Franz, and I'm here to look for the spring of golden magical water. And what will you do with the golden magical water? Asked the unicorn. If I had that golden magical water, I will make a lot of gold, and I'll use that gold to make a lot of money, and with that money I will become the burgomaster. Now children, in some parts of Europe, burgomaster is a name given to someone who runs the city. So like a mayor or like a chief magistrate. Okay, it is someone, it's a position of power in countries like Germany, Denmark, etc. Okay, so here Franz was telling, I will become a burgomaster. Is that so? Asked the unicorn. And the unicorn slowly came towards him, and with its horn it lifted him and threw him away. And Franz also flew and fell right inside the hollow trunk of a dead tree right beside Fritz. And the unicorn trotted away muttering, "Ha! So much for you and your burgomanship." Again, months had passed. There was no news from either Fritz or Franz. And here at home, Hans and his mother were getting very worried. So finally, when there was no other way in sight, no other solution in sight, Hans decided to go looking for them himself. So, with the help of a kindly neighbor to whom he entrusted the responsibility of looking after mother, Hans also got onto a horseback and set off. He also asked around, asked for directions, begged for food and shelter, and in the same way that his brothers had found their way, he also reached the forest of dead trees. And as he stood at the edge of the forest, who came looking for him but the very same unicorn? And the unicorn asked, "Who is it and what do you want?" "My name is Hans," said Hans. And he said, "I'm here looking for my brothers Fritz and Franz. And yeah, I might also want to look for that spring of golden magical water." "What will you do with the golden magical water?" asked the unicorn. "Well, you see, if I am able to get a little bit of that water, with whatever money I can make out of that gold, I'd like to make my mother comfortable and look after her in a better way. As soon as Hans had said this, the unicorn seemed to soften a little. That, oh, sure, but do you have the crystal ball? Crystal ball? I wasn't told about any crystal ball, my dear unicorn. I don't know anything about it, said Hans. Well, sir, I need a crystal ball to be able to let you find the magical water. But the huntsman did not tell me anything about it. Now what do I do? Hans stood there, wringing his hands and wondering what next to do. Why don't you check inside your pockets? You might just have it. I don't have anyway. Hans put his hand inside his pocket, and what did he find but that yeasty, old, stale, black pellet of breadcrumbs that months ago the huntsman had given him. Only when he took it like this, what did the unicorn say? Of course, there it is, the crystal ball. And when Hans looked at it, it was indeed no more a black pellet, but a shiny crystal ball. And now the unicorn said, Sir, now that you have the crystal ball, I am veritably your servant, and I must do whatever you say. Come on, hop on to my back, and I will take you to the spring of golden magical water. So Hans clambered on the top of the unicorn's back, and the unicorn made a giant leap. And with that one leap, my dear children, it flew over the top of the tallest trees. It took 3 leaps like this. Tush, 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 for the unicorn to reach the edge of the spring. And when he got down there, he told, Sir, be careful when you fetch the water from the spring. Make sure that no part of your body touches the water, because if you do touch, then that part will also become gold. So very gingerly, Hans had a flask with him. So very gingerly, without making sure that no part of his hand would touch the water, he fetched some water from the spring. As he did that, a small part, the tip of his finger, touched the water, and that tip alone grew golden. But still, Hans did not mind, because now he had a full flask of that water, and the flask itself was golden now, because the water had touched the flask, right? So the flask itself was golden now, and he had it full and secure in his bag. And now he said, My dear unicorn, I want to find my brothers Fritz and Franz. Is that so? Are you really sure of it, sir? Asked the unicorn, to which Hans replied, Of course I am. They are my brothers. I need to find them, and I need to make sure that they are safe, and I need to take them back home. Well, if you say so, come, hop on to my back. So Hans again clambered on to the top of the unicorn's back, and with again 3 giant leaps, they were back in the forest of the dead trees. And the unicorn took Hans to the hollow trunk of the dead tree. And when they went there, what sight did they see? they saw Fritz and Franz living in a pathetic condition, eating worms and termite and shivering and weak. Hans, oh Hans, we are so happy to see you, Hans. Hans was also happy to see his brothers. He was happy to see that they are alive. And together, the three brothers set off back home to where their mother was waiting. And Fritz and Franz swore that they will never be selfish again, and they will always learn to love everyone and be kind to everyone. Because children, magic is not all about fantastical words and fantastic creatures, strange and unique creatures. The biggest magic is the power to love someone, to be kind to someone, even if that someone has nothing to offer you in return. So, love and kindness are the biggest magical powers in this world. So, on that note, it is time for me to say bye-bye, and I hope you like the story, and as always, do share it with all your friends. Do give me any feedback that you might want to let me know, and do press that like button if you like the story. And see you later with another fantastic story. Till then, see you.